There we go.
And welcome, folks, to This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. And DNG Radio is the weekly radio call-in show produced by the Diversity Networking Group. If you're ever in Las Vegas, folks, we really encourage you to come on out. Visit us at the Diversity Networking Group. We are about 40 to 100 business owners. It depends on the day of the week, I guess. We all get together and we talk about business and talk about all the things that affect us. And we do even more than that, folks. What we're doing is we actually are adding on to our business profile what we call the EDGE training. And the EDGE training is really all about mentoring you and speaking into your lives. This until the end of the year, we're actually going to be working on speaker training. So that's just good. It's taught by Jace Souter, and Jace has been a hypnotist, and he's been a speaker for many, many years. And we've been learning things about speaking for like the last couple of weeks, and it's been just fantastic. Hey, we want to welcome everybody who've joined us today on the webcam here. We call it the DNG cam. We want to welcome Millian Quinteros over here on the board over here. And so, Millian, it's good to see you again, bro. It's been a good week, hopefully. You were talking about your wife earlier, that she's going to be back in town. So we're all going to just give a big awe for Millian. Aw, because his wife has been out of town for a couple of weeks now. Probably seems like an eternity then, bro. So there have been some great things going on this week. I'm gonna be your host today, and I'm going to be your guest today. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, in this first segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the happenings that have been happening globally. But in the next segment, we're going to talk about some more specific things locally here in town. And if you've joined us here on the webcam, you're probably noticing that I've got even more hair on me today, and I'm almost looking like a Chewbacca here. But it's getting to the point where, because what's going on, folks? We are having the Las Vegas Marathon, which is going to be at blurb for you here so you can actually see it. So this is the Las Vegas Marathon. Excuse me, a little bit of a cough there. The Las Vegas Marathon is coming up December 2nd. We've been in training. Actually, even though it says we've been in training beginning on August 20th, we actually started it in January. And we're running the 26.2 miles in the Las Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon, and that's coming up December 2nd. We're still taking pledges for that. And last week we actually had a pledge drive, so we had a couple of people who called in during the allotted time, and they were able to get their logo on my shirt. So we want to congratulate you on that. But we're running the 26.2 miles, and it's going to be December 2nd, so it ought to be a fun time. Hey, what's in the news today? Well, this is an Associated Press article, and it is in Los Angeles, a decade after George Lucas said Star Wars was finished on the big screen. A new trilogy is destined for theaters at the Walt Disney Company, announced Tuesday. Get this, that it's buying Lucasfilms for guess how much million? $4.05 billion. That's with a B, folks. $4.05 billion. This is an amazing thing, you guys. Can you imagine that? You say you've got a baby, and you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to nurture it, and I'm going to grow it, and everything else. And then when time comes that you say, hey, it's about time for me to go and do something else, you're able to sell that baby for $4.5 billion. The seventh movie, with a working title, Episode 7 of the Star Wars trilogy, is set for release in 2015. Then Episode 8 and 9 will follow. And it looks like what George Lucas has said is, hey, guess what? Disney, if you'd like to buy my franchise, we will do this. So not only does Disney own, as some commentators are saying, the Disney rights, but now they own our childhood. Because now they've got Star Wars, they've got the Indiana Jones trilogy, and they've got all kinds of things, and it's just an amazing thing. So Disney, their CEO Bob Iger said that Lucasfilms has already developed an extensive storyline on the next trilogy, and Episode 7 is now in early stages of development for Star Wars. So that's pretty interesting things that are going on with Lucasfilms. And so not only does Disney own Lucasfilms, but I believe, what else do they have? I think they have the DreamWorks studio, that they also get that too. So some great things that are going on for Disney products, and it should be real cool for them. You know, it's funny. We just celebrated here in Las Vegas a couple that have been with the Diversity Networking Group for some time now. John and Portia Hurley, and they just celebrated their opening of their business. It was pretty cool. They had a ribbon cutting over at Lakeside Business Suites, and we had had all of the pageantry that was associated with opening up a business. So it was really cool. They had their little baby out there. We had of course, the chamber has to come out. And that's funny because we, as the Diversity Networking Group, we believe had something really big to do with them having their success in their business and opening up their own storefront. Because up until that point, they did not have a storefront. So we've encouraged people, hey, join the chambers. Get plugged in with the right people, and do all the things that are necessary in order to move your business forward. And they actually did that. So we were really excited for them. So congratulations, John and Portia Hurley. They have a franchising business, and so we're excited that they're going to do some great things in the future. Hey, let's talk a little bit about something local that's going on here. There is a story, once again, this is actually out of, who wrote this story anyways? A guy by the name of Ron Sylvester. And Ron Sylvester's talking about because there's like 54 days left until Christmas. I don't know if you knew that yet. There's 54 days left till Christmas, and then there's 54 days left until Santa's Wrap, a month-old Christmas shop in Henderson, closes. And it closes its doors. It's a true seasonal store, said Beth Tom, who opened the shop at the District last month with her husband, Dave Kilmer. Now, what the story is all about, it's about seasonal businesses that come in for that season, and they open up their businesses, whether it be a Halloween shop, whether it be some kind of something for Valentine's Day. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but over the Las Vegas Valley, you've got more costume stores, you've got more seasonal businesses that open up, and they pop up all over the place, and then they're there for the season, and then they're gone. It might be a pumpkin grower, it might be a Christmas tree vendor or something like that, but all of a sudden they pop up and they're gone. And we think, hey, guess what? They're gone and they must be going out of business. But they say that's not the truth. The article goes on and says it doesn't mean that proprietors take 9 or 10 months off of the year. Rather, they spend the time when their shops are closed and travel to find merchandise, selecting inventory, and buying fixtures for their stores. And that's a pretty interesting thing, because we really think that, hey, guess what? These guys are just gone. But really, their job, they make their big nut in 1, 2, 3 weeks of really just intensive selling, and then they spend the rest of their time basically traveling the world to buy things. And I wondered how many of you are in the same kind of business where you do the same thing, but you don't look at your business that way. You look at your business as, man, I'm out there every day trying to make a nut. When really the actuality is that you're out merchandising part of the time. You're sowing one time, you're reaping the other time. You're sowing, you're reaping, and that's what these business owners do here too. They said for some reason people think about going to the Halloween store, they're getting a better deal, and we saw the business dropping at our year-round stores. Kramer said, and I had to open just to survive. And so what these Halloween stores do is they say, hey, guess what? We're making more money just opening our store for that one season than trying to keep the doors open all year long. So interesting kind of thing that we see. Hey, in our next segment, we're going to talk about some more local things. We're going to talk a little bit about the real estate market here in Vegas. We've been hit big time, folks. But I think we've got maybe some positive things, maybe some things that we want to consider that are going on in the real estate market here in Las Vegas. Hey, I want to remind you once again that we have what we call the EDGE training. That is a part of the Diversity Networking Group. We meet at the Lakeside Business Suites, and that is at 2620 Regatta Drive, Suite 101 in Las Vegas, Nevada. We meet on Tuesday nights at 6:45 till about 8:30, and we are having such a great time, folks. I really want to encourage you to come out, be a part of the EDGE training. We'll see you in the next segment. This is Sherman Ray, and this is This Week on DNG Radio. We will see you in just a minute. opposite side of the road.
Okay.
Oops.
Where the Tenaya Creek.
All right, folks, and welcome back to This Week on DNG Radio. Hey, just want to remind you once again, this is Sherman Ray. I'm your host, and just want to remind you about the Diversity Networking Group. The Diversity Networking Group is just a fabulous group, folks. It's funny how we've been so blessed. A couple of years ago, when my wife Linda and I started the group, how how it's really just blossomed. We've developed some great relationships with some folks, and it's really because of them that we're able to do this radio show. So we want to invite you to come out to the the Diversity Networking Group. Excuse me. We actually have a couple of different groups now. We meet on on Tuesdays out in Henderson over at the district. It's called the Christian Business Connection. That meets at 7 o'clock at the Panera Bread. And then on Wednesday, we also have the Christian Business Connection, which meets over at the Panera Bread here in Las Vegas, over off Lake Mead at 7 o'clock. We were at that meeting this morning, had a great time. And then on Thursday, we have the Diversity Networking Group #1, the original group, and that meets at the Panera Bread, once again, at Panera Bread on Lake Mead at 7 o'clock. You will meet some of the most dynamic people in the Valley when you come to a group like that. We have everybody from doctors and lawyers to the Mary Kay lady. And so we actually have one of the legacy Tupperware franchise holders is a part of our networking group. You know, we've got the president of the Asian Chamber, the president of the Rotary Club. They're all parts of the Diversity Networking Group. So come on out, folks, visit us, and once again, visit us when we do the EDGE training. And the EDGE training is over at Lakeside Business Suites. And so we want to invite you out there on Tuesday nights at 6:45 till about 8:30. Right now, we are working on being public speakers. And if you are a business owner and you need to work on your presentation skills, then this is the group that you want to be a part of. Jace Souter is having a great time, and we've got an enthusiastic gathering of business owners who are saying, hey, I want to do this. As a matter of fact, yesterday talked to us a little bit about what he did in the last couple of times that he's used some of the techniques, and it has opened up some fantastic doors for him. So, hey, come on out, folks. Visit us with the Diversity Networking Group, the EDGE, and everything else. Well, anyways, what do we have on tap today? Hey, the Bank of America. Guess what? Bank of America. This story is out of VegasInc.com, and Bank of America is suing. Get this. Now, the Bank of America just got sued for what? $1 billion themselves by the federal government. Well, now they're saying, well, we probably need to recoup some of that money. Okay, no, I'm being facetious, but no, they're actually suing 28 Nevada homeowner associations and their collection agencies in a continuing dispute over charges that HOAs have been hitting homeowners and buyers of foreclosed homes with inflated bills for past due assessments and collection costs. It's amazing. The bank filed suit Tuesday in Clark County District Court, charging that state laws limit the super priority first position liens that HOAs can place against homes to an amount equal to 9 months of HOA assessments, but that HOAs are improperly filing liens demanding payment of attorney's fees and collection costs on top of that. All right. Now, why do I read this story? Well, because I am actually one of the executive board members of an HOA here in Las Vegas. I won't tell you who it is, but it's one of the largest here in the Valley. And we've had this come up before, where we had a homeowner come up and he said, hey, I just bought this home, I got this bill, and the bill had not only the back HOA fees, but it had lawyers' fees, and we had this, that, and the other thing. Well, by state law, HOAs are actually able to recoup those monies. And what B of A is saying now is, hey, you're hurting our bottom line now, because people are buying these homes, excuse me, they're buying these homes, and on top of the price that they're paying, now they're having to pay HOA fees, lawyers' fees, lien fees, all these other things. This one guy bought a home. It says, in one recent example, a homeowner was forced to pay off $5,895 in liens placed on him by the Spring Mountain Ranch HOA, but charged in a lawsuit that the state law limited the HOA's limit authority, in that instance for $357, okay, with the remainder representing an unlawful lien amount. Now, this is the issue here, folks. If an HOA's, the reason for being is they have laws, okay, and I'm an HOA member, so I'm going to speak to this for just a second. The reason why you pay HOA dues is to keep your neighborhood pretty, Okay, if you have, foliage around or something like that, you have, or you have, if you have trees, you have sidewalks, you have all these things, they have to be paid for. Your HOA pays for those things through your dues. Now, what happens, especially now during the foreclosure season? You have a lot of homes that are sitting out there and nothing is happening. Nobody's paying those HOA dues. If you now, I am the board member in a large HOA, but I live in a smaller HOA. Let's say you have 200 homes in an HOA, and half of the people, or even a tenth of the people, are gone. Well, all of a sudden, bills still keep mounting up. People still have to still be paid. The landscaper has to be paid. The water has to be paid. The electrical, all these things still have to be paid. Somebody's got to pay those things. In this lawsuit, Bank of America is saying, "Hey, you can't pay. You're going to have to find your money someplace else." Well, unfortunately, that is somebody's got to pay that money at some point. And what B of A is hoping is going to happen is that that the Supreme Court of Nevada is going to rule against the HOAs and limit the amount of money that they're able to recoup. Now, I know everybody hates HOAs because they say, "Oh, they infringe upon my rights. They've got these HOA Nazis. They go around and they look in my yard and everything else." But the fact of the matter is, if the truth be known, there are neighborhoods that are beautiful to this day because of HOAs, because they have people who drive around in those little cars, and they tell people, excuse me, sorry about that. They tell people, guess what? You cannot put that big old '76 Monte Carlo in your front yard. Okay? No, you cannot put mom's old sofa on your porch. No, you cannot bring up that cyclone fence and put it around your yard when next door to you there's $1 million home. Okay? HOAs are there for a reason. Let me give you an example. One last example, and we'll go on to the next story. There was a guy who came up, we had a meeting last week, who was a part of our HOA, and he came up and he says, "Hey, I would like you to raise my fence on my property, because little kids come by and they look over the fence, and he doesn't want anybody looking over his fence." Well, so our management team says, "Hey guys, don't do this." Okay, they said, "Don't start this, because if you raise his fence, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have to raise the fence of everybody in the entire HOA, and that could literally cost us millions upon millions of dollars to start raising everybody's fences." This guy lives in this house for 6 months. The neighborhood has been around for over 25 years. Nobody's ever complained about the height of this fence until this guy came along. HOAs are there for uniformity, to keep your place beautiful, to keep it exactly the same way, because on average, most people only live in a neighborhood for 7 years. They're there for about 7 years and then they move on. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, they want to, they want to put up the cyclone fence. They want to put up the '76 Monte Carlo and park it in the front, on the driveway. And you just can't do those things. Hey, we want to welcome everybody who's watching us on the webcam here. And my name's Sherman Ray, and this is This Week on DNG Radio. We are a weekly show that comes on about 10:30 over on Ustream.tv. If you would like to get actually a podcast of this radio show, I'd like you to go to www.thecityfm.com and just look for us. Look for us at This Week on DNG Radio. And you can download this podcast right after the show. It'll be up on, it'll be on iTunes shortly after that. But Million would love for you to be a part of this and to see the show. Hey, in the next segment, folks, we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate, because real estate is big here in Las Vegas. This has been Sherman Ray, and this is This Week on DNG Radio. We will see you in just a minute.
Contact info, here we go.
Hey, we're back, folks, and this is the final segment of this week on DNG Radio. Millie and I were talking about, for some reason, folks, I will be very clear all day long, not coughing, never make it, until I get on the radio, and then all of a sudden I'm coughing, I'm hacking, I'm sniffling, you know. That's the advantage of live radio, so you guys get to hear all this stuff. Hey, I want to welcome all of you who are part of the radio broadcast, who are part of the webcam, who are watching us on Ustream. And once again, you might be wondering why I've got the facial hair. Well, it's because the Las Vegas Marathon is coming up here in a couple of weeks. Told all the business owners that I was going to do a couple of things this year. What I was going to do this year is I was going to lose 30 pounds, or did I say 40 pounds? Oh, I said 40 pounds. 40 pounds. 40 pounds, and I was going to run the Las Vegas Marathon. And I'm well over 30 pounds down now, and I'm going to be running the marathon here in a couple of weeks. So I said, you know what, I'm going to up the ante just a little bit more, and I'm going to let the hair on my face grow, and my hair, it's my Nazarite type thing, you know, for those, or Samson, for some of those who strengthen his hair and everything else. Well, that's what I'm doing, and so I'm letting my hair grow out, and for those of you who are watching on the webcam, you can see it. I've got full beard, I'm like a Chewbacca here, and so I'm growing my hair on my face, and right after the race is going, I'm going to have a hair cutting project and just cut it all off. So I'll be very happy about that. Okay, hey, so let's talk a little bit about some local things that are here in Las Vegas in this final segment. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is about the foreclosure rate here in Las Vegas. And Nevada's foreclosure rate plunged last month, but was still high enough to keep the state in the top 10 of the worst hit states. Nevada had the 5th highest foreclosure rate in the country in September, with 1 in 496 homes in foreclosure, according to a report out today from research firm Realty Track. Florida was number 1, and of course, guess where I'd like to move to? That's right, Florida, with 1 in 318 homes, followed by California, Illinois, and then Arizona, and then we rounded out the top 5. So even though its foreclosure rate fell by 19%, Nevada's ranking was unchanged from August of last year. Okay, so our foreclosure rate did change a little bit, but you know what? It's we're still really high. There's another story here that I want to talk a little bit about also. Or did I just say that one? Oh, let me give you another story here about the foreclosure rate, or about home prices here in Las Vegas. Las Vegas home prices rose for the 8th consecutive month in September, thanks to the valley's tight housing supply and a record number of short sales. The median sales price of single-family homes last month was $140,000, up by 1.4% from $138,000 in August, and up 13.5% from September of 2011, according to a report by the Greater Las Vegas Realtors. The median sales price of condos and townhouses was $70,250, and that's up by 2.6% from $68,500 in August, and up 24% from last year. So it looks like we've got some interesting things that are going on. Our foreclosure rate is down a little bit. Our home prices are up a little bit. So it looks like things are maybe stabilizing. The interesting thing about it is that we still have a ton of foreclosures that are out there on the market, and companies like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and those kind of places who hold a lot of mortgages are still holding a lot of those properties back, and that's what people are fearful of. And they're fearful of the fact that, guess what, if we don't just let those things get out of the market and let them get gobbled up by the investors and everything else, we're going to look at a long and protracted recovery here. And that's an issue here in Las Vegas, that we're going to have that people just don't, they just want to get out of it. Because there's two trains of thought here. One is the train of thought that says, guess what, just take a Band-Aid and rip it off that cut and let's let it do. It's going to be painful for a minute, but healing is going to come. And then there's another train of thought that says, oh no, let's just we'll let a little air in, let a little air in. And that's what you see right now. As you see them not, Bank of America is a real big one right here in the Vegas Valley. that they're just not allowing all of this glut of foreclosed homes to get out on the market and let people take care of them. And see, I'm a capitalist, folks. I'm a big-time capitalist in that I believe that market forces will dictate what we buy and sell, and market forces will balance out the economy. And if you just allow business owners to do what we do naturally, then guess what? You're going to look at some issues, and that is probably what has hurt America the most. Is everybody's always kind of tinkering with the economy and trying to make the economy work and make it not work, and maybe if we mess with the monetary policy of America, or we mess with the commodities, and we mess with all these different sectors, that we'll get it right. If you allow capitalism to do what it's supposed to do, people will buy homes, people will buy water, people will buy cars, people will buy the things that they need to buy. But when there's an uncertainty, and I think that's the thing that's been really killing everybody else, because there's an uncertainty of what the government's going to do next, then that's a problem. Lately, I just heard a woman talk about something very interesting, and she was my wife and I were in Neiman Marcus last weekend. We were just kind of dreaming and talking about what we would buy if we had the extra $2 million to buy a skirt or whatever for my wife. One of the salespeople there said something very interesting, and she said that the government is not God, but we've allowed the government to become God so that we cannot buy or sell without the government's approval, or wondering what they're going to do next to manipulate the marketplace. And that's a problem. And because and let me ask you a question here. If you bought a house recently, or excuse me, a couple of years ago, that house was your dream home. That was the house that you wanted to buy. And so you said, hey honey, let's buy a house. We'll buy it in this neighborhood at such, and you negotiated with the realtor and the banks and everything else. You bought a home and you said that this is my dream home, and that's what you were going to live the rest of your life in, presumably. All of a sudden, the bottom drops out of the economy. Your home is not valued at what you thought it was going to be valued at anymore. And then all of a sudden you went, well, maybe I don't want to live in this house anymore. And now you're stuck with this home that you initially loved, but now you hate it. And you hate it for what reason? Did it become less appealing to you because now the price on it is not what you wanted? Because that's not what got you there in the first place. You negotiated the price that you were happy with, but you bought a home for all of the amenities and the neighborhood and everything else. But unfortunately, what has happened with a lot of people is they don't equate that. They don't equate home ownership with that. They equate home ownership with an investment, and it's all this money and everything else, when it really should not be that. If you listen to guys like Robert Kiyosaki and everything else like that, they basically tell you, do not buy a home as an investment in the sense that most people are looking at. Most people are looking at a home as an investment, and they're saying, hey, this is the money that I'm going to spend. I'm going to spend a lot of money on, and I'm going to invest and everything else. No, you don't want a home like that. You want a home is a place for you to live. That's it. It's a place for you to live. If you're looking to invest in real estate, that's a whole different thing. Okay, that's a different thing, and you can buy and sell real estate and a whole different thing. But you don't buy a home for an investment in that way. And so, folks, I'm really just kind of encouraging you to start maybe reevaluating what your home is. If you can't afford it, then there's something else different. Maybe renegotiate the terms of the payment and stuff like that. But once we allow the government to start dictating and influencing us on the value of homes, on the value of commodities, on what we should buy and sell, and when we should buy and sell, that becomes a problem. Hey, want to remind you one more time, folks, about some of the training that we have as a part of the Diversity Networking Group. We've got the EDGE training, which is fantastic, folks. It's on Tuesday nights. It is over at the Lakeside Business Suites, 2620 Regatta Drive. It's at 6:45 to about 8:30, and this week we're spending a lot of time on becoming a better speaker. We also have the Diversity Networking Group. If you would like to be a part of the Diversity Networking Group, we've got several groups that meet throughout the week. I encourage you to go to www.diversitynetworkinggroup.com. That's just with one G though, folks. www.diversitynetworkinggroup.com. Look for the calendar, and the calendar will actually show you all the listings of all the things that we do throughout the week, and the groups that meet and everything else like that. And once again, folks, I just want to encourage you, next week, listen to This Week on DNG Radio. We are on at 10:30 on Wednesdays. And if you'd like to get the live stream of this while the show is coming on, just go to www.ustream.tv and then Google in there This Week on DNG Radio, and you can watch the show. Or if you would like to download the show and get a podcast of the show, go to www.thecityfm.com, and you can get the podcast of the show and listen to the show. And if you would like to have your own show, the producer of this show, the owner of the City FM, Million Quinteres, would just love to have you call him up. You can find out more information about him and the City FM at www.thecityfm. Hey, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show today. Million, I want to thank you for being here at the control board. We will be back with you again next week on This Week on DNG Radio. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. We will see you next week, folks. Have a great one.